pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Austriaco, here. Bessler, here. Collins, here. Boyle, here. Lee, Sullivan, Owen, here. Okay, we have two public hearings tonight. We're going to start with them, and the first one is for a waiver of administrative cost caps. So I'm going to turn it over to Mary.
Elmwood Park.
This hearing is an opportunity for anybody in the public to comment. We are requesting a waiver of the administrative cost cap. In District 207, we have a philosophy that just because you don't spend your money doesn't mean you should have to use it. So a number of these items are because last year's budget wasn't spent and we're budgeting that amount this year. We also increased the special ed compliance coordinator position from a half-time to a full-time position. Took the athletic directors to from 10 months to 12 months, and we're buying more PE uniforms because parents are buying multiple PE uniforms now. The choice is so reasonable. So these elements have caused us to be about $100,000 over the administrative cost cap. We will apply for the waiver, and it's because it's a waiver of a school code law. We fill out the form, send it to the state, provide the rationale, have the public hearing, and then we wait for the General Assembly to take action, and I've approved the matter. So at this point, I'll entertain any public comments on the administrative cost cap.
Any questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, Mary. And I will now turn it over to Sean Bessemer. Oh, sorry. Have a motion to adjourn the public hearing? Austriaco? Aye. Bessler? Collins? Aye. Boyle? Aye. Lee? Owen? Aye. Now I'll turn it over to Sean Mester, and this is also a public hearing for a waiver to a portion of general state aid.
Thank you. So this hearing is an opportunity for comment on our request for a waiver of the attendance requirement for general state aid. We too will apply for this in the same manner as the administrative cost cap that you just heard. We're requesting a waiver of the 5-hour-a-day instructional requirement for students' attendance at school to be recognized for the purpose of securing general state aid. We're requesting this so students can engage in a virtual hybrid instructional model. This would facilitate a situation where, rather than all of the learning occurring in a traditional classroom setting under the direct supervision of a teacher for 45 minutes, this would allow for 2 hours of instruction a day to occur virtually, outside of the traditional setting, and still have the student be considered present for a full day of instruction. Allows for greater flexibility in the student schedule, for greater personalization of learning, allow for students who are ready to move on in the curriculum and not have to wait for the rest of the class, and allow for advanced work in the same subject or another subject area should a student complete the requirements of the course before the end of a traditional term. Why is it referred to as general state aid? General state aid is given as an apportionment to your attendance, and so to maintain that student attendance for state aid, we like to reduce that to 3 hours.
And this was also published?
Yes, this was published. We followed the procedures, as well as then we will make application to the state, and again wait for the General Assembly to rule our waiver request.
Is there anyone in the public who wishes to ask any questions or comments on this? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing? Okay, just take the roll. Collins? Aye. Coyle? Aye. Lee? Aye. Bessler? Austriaco? Owen? Aye. Okay. We will now move on to our regular meeting. And we're going to begin tonight, as always, with our favorite item, District 207's Best Awards for Community Service this month. And we'll go ahead and start with the names.
Hi, everybody. I am extremely pleased to introduce Manzi Bodalia tonight for 207. So, I'm going to kind of cut to the chase here. Monzi has been a great student. She's got a 4.42 GPA and has taken a lot of accelerated and advanced placement courses, the things that we a lot of times hear about 207's best students. I want to focus just a little bit, though, on her past 4 years. She's also taken some CTE, Career Technical Education courses, specifically in business. So every year, first Intro to Business, College Accounting Accelerated, Finance and Investing, Entrepreneurship, and this year she's in Virtual Enterprise International. She's been a part of our PE Leader program for the past 2 years, and she has been a member of the tennis team as captain this year. As a PE Leader, they do quite a bit in terms of fundraising and community service. She's been part of the Healthy Hearts campaign there as a leader. The real focus has to do, though, with our Rotary Interact chapter, which is the high school equivalent of Rotary International. And the motto of Rotary is service above self. And Monzi has been co-president now for 2 years. I'm just going to sort of tick off a list of her accomplishments, things she's been working on since last year and into this year. So she's currently in her 2nd year as co-president of the Interact Club, where she's provided a lot of direction for what we call at Maine East the optics and the branding of the school, just in terms of our message, sometimes the myth busting that we've got to do at Maine East, and again, putting a really best foot forward for the great things that happen in the building every day. She has been active, every year you hear about the WGN Toy Drive, and we've been north of $10,000 per year in terms of annual giving. So last year they raised and purchased over $11,500 worth of toys for underprivileged children that are donated to WGN for the toy drive. Last year she coordinated about 280 members in selection and purchase of the toys, as well as transporting the toys at dark early in the morning when they get up and get to WGN for I think a 5:30 call. It's usually on finals day, so then they get back quickly in time for their final exams on that day. And it looks like this year they're poised to set a new record in money raised to support the drive, because she's been actively involved in the membership for this year. So we had 280 members last year. This year we have 360 members, 27% increase in membership in 1 year, which is pretty amazing, and sort of based on the concept everybody's going to get involved, we anticipate we're going to see a little more fundraising, so I think we'll see a new record there as well. Last fall, Monzi played a key leadership role in organizing and leading the Digital Literacy Initiative for the Park Ridge Senior Citizens. Center of Concern reached out to members of the Interact Club in regard to 21st Century volunteer initiative called Digital Literacy, where East Interactors and Center of Concern work together to help close the digital divide for seniors in terms of helping them build some skill and being able to use social media to basically stay connected with family, with friends, that sort of thing. And again, we've got a number of photos and clips, and there's not a smile missing from any face on the room. So I think the seniors enjoyed it, and I'm certain the students found it to be very satisfying. And I know we have plans to go out again in just a couple of weeks right now in terms of the first one of those sessions for this year. Other community service events, she's been involved in pedals for Parks Bike and Trike Exchange to help fundraise Park Ridge Trees Forever program. She led a team of Rotary members helping unload, clean, move, and organize bicycles by type and condition. And this was in conjunction with the Rotary Club. Random Acts of Kindness is an initiative at school. Under Monzi's leadership, Rotary members joined other clubs, major contributors of time and talent. East Random Acts of Kindness Week, in which every locker in the school and doors to classrooms were covered with just kind of a nice affirmative note. Park Ridge Charity Classic 5K Interactors for the 4th year in a row have organized a number of volunteers for that Park Ridge Classic event. So they were again there. Meals for Africa is an Interact philanthropic event where Interactors spend their Saturdays packing meals for less fortunate families in Africa. Interact has participated in this event for the past 4 years, and Monzi has led the Interactors in this specific effort for the past 2 years. And then, not part of Interact, but part of her responsibility in the tennis team, this past year as captain of the girls varsity team, she organized the first annual Play It Forward tennis tournament in conjunction with the Hopeton tennis team to benefit underserved children in Chicago area through the association with local YMCAs. I'm going to quote one person tonight, and that's Mr. Al Bartel, who is here in the audience, longtime Park Ridge resident and very active member, past president of the Rotary Club. He wrote about Monzie, he said, "It's been my privilege to witness Monzie's extraordinary commitment and example to Rotary motto of service above self over the last 2 years. I've been most impressed by Monzie's leadership ability through the Interact program. She's consistently demonstrated a leadership style of inclusiveness and set a personal example of service above self. She's consistently done this with great joy in working with others while exhibiting a sincere compassion and humility for those that were being served. Monzie represents the brightest and the best of her generation, and I'm happy to say gives me great hope for our future." I don't think I could say it any better than that. Congratulations, Monzie. We're very proud of you. I think there are a lot of people in the room to introduce tonight, so I'm going to do that.
So I have my grandma, my mom, and my dad, as well as my sister. And then I have Mr. Bartel, and as you mentioned, he's the Park Ridge Rotary Executive. Then I have Ms. Bonifazi, and she was my junior leaders teacher last year. I have Ms. Salomon, and she was my AP Economics teacher last year. And I have Mr. Sean, he was my coach, my teacher, and as well as the sponsor for Rotary Interact.
Moving along to Maine South.
I'd like to present Emily Krasik, who will be Maine South's representative for 207's Best for Community Service. Emily's story is really amazing. I was having lunch with her about a little over a week ago, I think, just trying to get to know you better, and after she finished telling me what she's been through, I frankly, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It was amazing. So Emily started down the athlete road, where she was in basketball, volleyball, and softball, and actually had concussions in all three of those, and just had some school that she missed. During one of those stints when you were home, recovering, you visited Shriners Hospital. And she said two things really struck her when she was walking around the hospital volunteering. First, all these students, these kids were physically broken, yet each one had a smile on their face. And then second, it was the first time that she looked beyond herself and didn't focus on her own pain because she saw what others were doing. And I think from that moment, you have really led a life of service that I know is going to continue beyond Maine South and District 207. So your accomplishments are many. You joined Key Club soon after that, in which case you were the president, but also the co-sponsor at this point. She's been elevated to that level. She's taught CCD for multiple years. She was a member of the Schoolwide Fundraiser Club many times over, and she's volunteered at Gigi's Playhouse and at the Brookdale Senior Center. She also serves on the Maine Township Peer Jury. So students who have very minor crimes go before this peer jury in the township, and Emily really enjoys working with them and seeing the growth that they have. And she said one of your favorite things that you like seeing is them coming back and describing how they've bettered themselves and how they're on a better path and a better route. And I think that's really amazing that you do all of that. One of the things, though, that I think that I really want to point out is that you started your own summer camp to raise money for Gigi's Playhouse. This is crazy. I didn't do that in the summer, usually. But you decided to take your own time and to have some of your friends help you, and in which case you had kids from age 3 to 11 at your home, and they did games and activities, and you took all those funds, just dedicated it towards Gigi's Playhouse, where most of your friends were probably off doing other things. And I think that just speaks to the kindness and the selflessness in your heart that you have for others. And I know that everything that you have working towards your future is going to go towards that. So I'd like to read some quotes from some of your teachers. In particular, Mrs. Kirshner, who was one of your English teachers. Emily has been a reliable and influential member of the Schoolwide Fundraiser Club since its inception 4 years ago. At a time where she could have been wallowing in self-pity as she dealt with the debilitating side effects of repeated concussions, She revealed her survivor mentality and her altruistic nature by finding a new way to feel and spread joy. As a result, she should feel incredibly proud of the significant role she has played in helping our school and community raise over $100,000 to benefit our selected charity. Emily's dependable in the way that she will step up and get something done that no one else volunteers to do, and admirable in the way that she gives her time and energy to others without expecting accolades. Ms. Winnie Clark, one of your math teachers, said, "If I owned a business, I would want Emily on my team." Not only is she inquisitive, thoughtful, and dependable, but her positive outlook makes her a joy to work alongside. I feel fortunate to be her teacher. Mr. Egan, who is here also this evening, one of Emily's science teachers, said Emily's success is, I think, largely tied to her excellent communication skills and her willingness to work hard while staying on a schedule, which itself is challenging. On the other hand, I am a little surprised that with her challenging schedule that Emily would take time to give back to the community as she has. But then I remember, this is Emily Krasik, and then I'm not surprised at all. Mr. Laverato, one of your math teachers, has described Emily in the following way. Emily's style can be characterized as dedicated and focused. In my pre-calculus class, Emily showed leadership and determination. She would frequently help others in class while continuing to strive for the mastery of every concept taught. If a concept escaped her grasp, she would come in prior to school or attend our math resource lab for clarity. Emily has a passion for learning. She enjoyed class daily and always attacked challenges with a positive attitude. Emily was self-driven and always strived for perfection. And finally, your counselor, who was the initial person who brought you to my attention, was Ms. Conlon. She said, Emily is intuitive, kind, passionate, and industrious. She's always thinking about how to help others. The outcome of dealing with a tough situation that was beyond her control was a realization that her generosity is limitless. Emily, I think you have a story that inspires everybody in this room, because you took a situation that would have knocked most of us down, and you just persevered to the place where you are the best example of what all of our students have in this district and in Maine South and in District 207. So congratulations, and thank you so much for everything you do for all of us. And then you want to introduce who's here with you tonight?
Yes, okay, so I have my brother Cole, I have my grandpa, I have my mom, and my sister Jane, and my brother Luke, and then my dad, and Mr. Egan is here as well.
And what are you looking to do next year?
Oh, so I'm interested in majoring in psychology. After my concussions, I got to see lots of doctors, and psychologist was one of them. And I just am fascinated at how psychology can heal without being invasive and like medication. And so I got like a glimpse at the power of the brain and how it can play like a huge impact in healing injuries. And so I want to pursue that.
Excellent.
Hey, Wes? Yes, I'd like to introduce to you Elizabeth Simonette. To say that Elizabeth excels in everything she does is really not an understatement. She could be the 207's best award winner every month that we have. She's got a 4.21 GPA and is not just a math science kid. She's an English kid, social science kid, musician, accomplished at everything she does. But where we selected to honor her is in the area of community service. I have now, our tradition is to really look to Randy Harper and his group, Voice for the Nameless, because there's not a group at Maine West that does more in community service than any other organization. Voice for the Nameless is a group that works with Amnesty International, and they do countless number of hours volunteering for places like Inspiration Corporation, where Elizabeth has taken this on as a passion of hers. This is a shelter situation where they help homeless people get back on their feet. And what Elizabeth has done there is help serve in a restaurant type of situation where there's dignity and respect for all of the clients there. She has volunteered there, not only serving food, but then also speaking with the homeless folks who go there.
She was inspired early on by being a member of Voice for the Nameless and seeing other members of Voice for the Nameless get this honor as 207's Best, knowing that this group does so much service for others in the community. Elizabeth has also worked with was named a part of the top volunteer group with Inspiration Corporation last year for putting in over 100 hours of service. And this year, just last weekend, they were honored by Amnesty International as the top volunteer student group and the top faculty sponsor, Mr. Harper, who happens to be here, by Amnesty International for 2017. And if you look at the hours that Elizabeth is putting in both of those areas, you can see that she was a very large contributor to both of those awards. She also has helped with Refugee One, which is an organization in Chicago that welcomes refugees into the city and gets them acclimated. And she's done Halloween parties there, Christmas parties, just volunteering her time and doing a supply drive with them. She's got 100 service hours on behalf of student rights just by herself, which is absolutely amazing. And our teachers, a common thing when we asked what Elizabeth is like as a student in class is that her service to others is not just outside of the school, but within her classroom. Mr. Galanis says she's a wonderful young lady who is humble and at the same time very much respected by her peers. Mr. Walsh adds, Elizabeth is a wonderful young lady who truly shines while working with others. The experience of collaboration energizes and strengthens her and demonstrates that when she's working toward a goal that is for the good of others as well as herself, she is at her best. Ms. Valdez, her symphonic orchestra director, says, I've had Elizabeth since she was a freshman, and to this day her sense of creativity and attention to detail is always so great to see. She has a great sense of collaboration, holds others accountable, but also helps when she knows help is needed. So the help theme and the collaboration theme there. And her math teacher says Elizabeth is a lovely young lady. She is a critical thinker and loves to engage in thoughtful conversation. She's got a great sense of humor and helps create an easy, inclusive, and productive class environment. Again, bringing everybody into a community atmosphere. And then finally, she's simply interested in helping others because it brings joy to herself. And with that academic prowess that she has and that commitment to community, she is just outstanding in every area, and we are very, very proud to honor Elizabeth today. So who's here with you tonight?
Okay, so I have my dad, my mom, my sister Alex, my older sister Olivia, my best friend and last year Mr. Kayla, and my teacher and faculty sponsor, Mr. Harper, and then my also AP Chem teacher, Mr. Pinzilles, is here.
And your plans next year?
I plan on majoring in Chem, but I hope to get involved with other social justice groups and make sure I keep doing human rights stuff on campus.
Nice job.
Thank you to each of you and all your parents and support systems. This group of students, we honor different groups each month, but you have a reach in present time, into the community. You reach so many people, and I could just tell you're all service oriented and you're going to be doing it for all your lives. So thank you for now and for the future, for all that you do on behalf of people. This is your chance to go out and have a picture taken with your principal in the hall, and it's also your chance to leave the business meeting.
Yeah, right.
I'll send you a pic.
Okay, we'll move on while they're going ahead and getting their photos taken. Do we have any public comment cards? Okay, let's move on on to the superintendent's report. Ken?
Okay, so from time to time, well, I shouldn't say from time to time, all the time, we have staff members that do exemplary things or and so tonight we're going to honor 2 of those staff members for exemplary service above and beyond the call of duty to help a student in need. And so I want to recognize Nellie Diaz and Mika Yoka from Maintenance High School. So they said we have just every day, literally, in District 207, we have staff members that just do incredible things that don't go noticed, and it just happens. And from time to time, over the years, we've tried to recognize really special circumstances and exemplary circumstances. So I want to thank both of you for really all of the work that you put in on a complex case and just things that really mean a lot to the district and to the students you serve. So thank you both very, very much. So the next thing that we have, I just want to recognize our school board members. November 15th is National School Board Day. And so another group of folks that don't get nearly enough recognition are the school board members. And as a superintendent, I can tell you that, and I think our staff understands, the quality of our school district is so interwoven with the quality of the school board. It just is. And the ability to continue to move forward as a district, to take challenges, to take risks, to change it all, which is a very hard thing to do in a school district, requires courageous leadership. And the board of District 207, I think, has exemplified that leadership. And so I want to take a minute to recognize our wonderful Board of Education. We don't get the they have a holiday.
And that's the little gift.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's a little gift.
Thank you.
So thank you all. One other quick announcement. District 207, we were notified a couple weeks ago. We were selected as one of 25 districts in the United States to be included there's a group called Successful Practices Network. It's run by a guy named Todd Reeves. His dad, Doug Reeves, is famous in educational research, and also the National Superintendents Association. So we're one of 25 districts selected to be studied for innovative practices leading to increased student achievement. So we're very, very proud of that.
Can we apply for that?
It's an application process, so it's all school districts in the country that wish to apply. So we applied for it, and we actually have a visit coming up at the end of November. So we're very, very proud of that. And that is everything I've got.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. Congratulations on that too. Updates from board members. Okay, I did want to mention, and everyone here knows this, on the board, we did have a board governance workshop recently. I can speak for myself. I found it really useful, helpful, informative. I am going to prepare a summary of some of what we discussed, and I'll do that at the December meeting. So, thank you all. We intended it for the newer board members. I don't want to say the older ones, but we all benefit from it. So, and like I said, I will be coming up with a document and a little presentation on some of the items we discussed. So, we have a couple of little letters that came in that Ginny's going to read. I just wanted to put these out on the record.
This is the letter that was written to the President. Dear President Owen, I'm the father of a Maine South student writing to congratulate you on an outstanding professional, Annette Hare, registrar at Maine South. She's truly exceptional. She went above and beyond her normal sterling work on our behalf. Annette is a shining example of professionalism and reflects great credit on the entire district. Sincerely, apparently,
We wanted to make sure that
And then we have a letter from one of our students who received the 207's Best Award. And the student wanted to say, "Dear School Board, I'd like to thank you for selecting me to receive the District 207's Best Award for Academic Achievement. I am truly honored to receive this award. The district's variety in course offerings has allowed me opportunities to challenge myself academically. I look forward to sharing where I'll be attending school next year. Sincerely, the student."
Okay. Any other updates from board members? Okay. Buildings and Grounds Committee, Jim?
We did a very worldwide educational building and ground committee meeting on November 1st. We had a couple of agendas. First of all, capital projects. We have reviewed capital projects for 2017-18, noting that all items are consistent with the 10-year plan. And also capital projects were going to full board for voting today. And then we did have a facility master plan of place. We have invited architects from White & Company. And since January, White has been collecting data based on email surveys collected from students and staffs on their priorities for their school's facility master plan. And the next step will be White's our March plans with infrastructure updates that are recommended budgets that align the budget with work scope. White will attend a future building and ground meetings with the magnitude cost. And then we did have a community engagement. The district will offer RFQs to look at the community engagement forms to discuss options for building and funding for the facility master plans, and then recommendation for approval will be brought to the board in December, probably, or January or so. And then we have some big orders and
All right, moving on to monthly status of finances. Mary?
In your board packet is the financial report for January. I'm gonna start to sound like a broken record. The only outliers on both the revenue and expenditure side are on the revenue side in the capital projects fund and the O&M fund, and that is because we did the transfer from the working cash fund to the operation and maintenance funds to capital projects fund as required by law to track the boiler replacements in the capital project fund. And you'll see similarly on the expenditure side, you'll see that big spike in expenditures and working cash and O&M to just simply represent those transfers. Everything else is in line with where we would believe we would be at the end of September. September marks the end of the first quarter of our fiscal year. Our expenditures aren't quite 25% because of how we pay our teachers. We catch up in June when we cut the summer paychecks. I will entertain any questions that anybody has on the September financial report.
Thank you, Mary. We'll move on to instructional services.
In your packet, you have referenced the state report cards. They were released on October 31st, and so part of our adhering to ISBE rules is presented at the board meeting. You'll find in your packet the district report card along with report cards for Maine East, Maine South, and Maine West. While the student information as far as numbers are accurate, there is some inaccuracies which I noted in the memo, but they did, ISBE did update those late on Friday afternoon. So if you were to go to the websites provided, they will be accurate. Also, in the electronic version are linked the quick look views that are linked to the Illinois school report card, which are much easier to read. So they're there for you to take a look at, and we can discuss those further in the committee meeting if you have specific questions.
So I would like to say a couple of things. First is, we're a little bit of in a transition phase, having gone from ACT to PARC to now SAT. I'm going to try to be as polite as I can here, so good luck. There are just so many problems with the school reporting on just so many levels, And let's start with the SAT, and this has been reported on. Now, the SAT sets college readiness cut scores. We're told, you know, that's a big marker. The state of Illinois artificially has set our pass rates above the college readiness rates. What effect will that have? It will drive up failure rates. That's a big deal. So we'll be simultaneously telling the student you're college ready, but you didn't meet standards. I'm putting that out there because I want to illustrate really the silliness of practices that the Illinois State Board of Education has chosen to follow along or to pass on to us. And you know, we can get into the whys, but the fact of the matter is the best predictor of our student success in college is their GPA with us in high school. It's a rigorous multiple measure built over time with multiple teachers in multiple courses, and with our kids, increasingly our most rigorous courses. So for the state to do this is really almost unconscionable. The second thing I want to point to is there is on the report card, if you do the printed version, it doesn't tell you what this is about, but they have a post-secondary remediation rate. This is for the class of 2015. District 207 students in literally every academic performance area outperform the state, and in most cases greatly outperform the state, except in our remediation rates where we're somehow mysteriously 10% behind the state average. What the state doesn't do a good job of telling community members is that this remediation rate is really actually only one remediation rate. It's a community college remediation rate. This is a function of Oakton Community College. Remediation rate is a student who goes into college and is taking non-credit bearing courses. So this is and it disproportionately affects poor and minority students. And so the cuts that, the eligibility cuts that colleges have matter a lot. We have discovered in the state of Illinois that they're all over the place, and one of the very worst offenders is Oakton Community College. This is simply for us a function of how out of line Oakton Community College is with their assessment practices. I've kept publicly quiet about this for 13 years, but I'm not going to keep quiet about it anymore. When I first got here, and some of you that know the story know, I worked for 11 years with English 101, the most commonly taught dual credit course in America. It took 11 years. Why did it take 11 years? When 2 university presidents wanted to teach that class, because one person in the system was allowed to do it. And not only was she allowed to not have us develop English 101, but she unilaterally, absent any empirical evidence, raised the ACT college readiness rate from the ACT standard of 18 to 22. That had the effect of driving up our non-college rate by somewhere in the magnitude of 30 to 40%. That one unilateral decision, based on no empirical evidence, based simply on a bias of one person, caused great harm. And I'm not talking a little harm, caused great harm to our students. This is one more reflection of that. Beyond that, if you look at the percentage of our high school students taking dual credit courses, Oakton Community College is privileged actually to serve some of the best high schools in America, and yet its dual credit course rate for its students at Oakton Community College is the 3rd lowest in the state of Illinois, and it's significantly lower than the state mean. So as we now have a report card that is putting us in a very, very bad light, it's time for the public to really understand what's at play here. And each of our teachers is trained in rigorous and relevant assessment literacy practices. Not a single college professor is trained in this. And we are, unfortunately, our kids are suffering from really, really bad assessment literacy practices, and now it's reflected on the state report card. So as this is being released tonight to our Board of Education, I want you to understand how much really, really bad practice from Oakton Community College has driven this rate up for us. We are working probably better in the last year or two with Oakton to really try to attain better measures across the board with them. One of the things that they're working on piloting this year is allowing students to get directly into credit-bearing courses if they have a 2.75 GPA at the high school level. It turns out that the GPA is actually the best predictor of success at the college level. And so they have a really good psychometrician there, Maya Evans, who has discovered this through doing research, and she's proposing that they pilot. The problem is that once it's piloted, even if it's implemented, it will easily be 2 or 3 years of bad data reporting before it gets fully fixed. So I want the board to fully understand that particular measure and what it's about. Niles Township, Evanston in particular, same as us because they have a higher percentage of poor and minority students. Their rates are also greatly inflated over the state average. And I guarantee you their students are outperforming the state average on every other measure of success. But this is a function of singularly focused.
So do you feel, you said it's improved in the last year, so do you feel like just a little bit improved in schools, or do you feel like there's still a gap?
Well, here's the gap. And it's a gap not only at Oakland, but it's a gap across the entire community college system. What you have is there is no universal cut. So what is, we take these tests, ACT tells you if a kid's college ready at certain cuts, SAT does the same thing. Well, one would think, since they have millions of students that they research, that all of the community colleges would apply the same cuts universally. They don't. They pick arbitrarily one school in like the English department may pick this cut, the math department may pick that cut. So the cuts are all over the place, and nobody ever goes below the cut. Very few of them actually go at the cut. Many of them go above the cut. And every point or two above the cut drives up schools' non-college ready or remedial rates. And it's an artificial construct, not based on any research whatsoever.
And we're participating in that Redefining Ready
Yes,
initiative.
we passed it.
Okay,
Yeah.
do you present any, are you able to come up with data on that for us that we can?
Yes, in fact, Sean and I are working on a report card that will be specific to District 207 in the Redefining Ready framework. And it's multiple measures. If you look at our number of students taking and excelling in AP, the number of students taking accelerated work, we even enroll in our dual credit numbers, but a little bit more slower there, GPA, all of it.
Because I think it would be helpful for the community, for us as board members, to see that Redefining Ready, those parameters, and maybe comparing them from year to year.
Yeah.
Because we keep getting faced with standards of, are the kids doing well, are they ready for college, that are really based on some things that probably are not the most indicative of that.
So here's how arbitrary it
We're
is.
not in our control.
So just the switch from ACT to SAT, just the switch from one test to another, in Illinois and for our district, just the change in the test will increase our college readiness rates by 12% for no other reason than we change the test. Now, what Illinois is going to do,
And their standard is different.
and their standard is closer. Both of them underestimate college readiness. Both of them do. It's just that SAT doesn't underestimate it as much as ACT can. So our college readiness rates are actually going to go up. At the same time, while our PAC meeting state standards may well go down because Illinois has chosen to artificially not follow the SAT college readiness standards for students meeting standards. So it's like you don't even know what you're chasing half the time. It's very frustrating.
So there's something going to be, you're doing something.
I'll tell you what, I'll come back.
Redefining readiness.
I'll come back in December. I've got some updated data on all of our high point data, and I'll come back.
Yeah, and our newer board members maybe haven't even seen the Redefining Readiness standards that some districts have adopted, as trying to change the discussion on the standards for when.
I would like to see that, because I think, and I know we already considered this, also you don't, it's called college readiness, but it really is not indicative of that at all.
Well,
because you look at how many actually go to college, where they go, there's success rates, and you check that, I know that, I've seen that, or, it's more than 50%.
Yeah, way more, yeah.
So, it's not your barometer.
Yeah, it's not.
But it goes, but you're right, it gets out, that
Part of this is this inherence. There is just this real bias toward standardized testing. And any good psychometrician can demonstrate, Oakland's psychometrician was able to demonstrate that the best predictor of their incoming, our students going to Oakland, the best predictor of their success is their high school GPA. That's not new information. We can predict our incoming freshmen's success by their middle school GPA better than any other cuts that we have. So anyway, I just wanted to go on the record about that.
Okay. Did you have anything else? Okay. All right, monthly update on FOIA.
We got 3 this month, they've all been processed.
Okay. Could I please have a motion on the consent agenda, items 7A through G? Call the roll, please. Austriaco? Aye. Vessler? Aye. Collins? Aye. Coyle? Aye. Lee? Owen? Aye. Okay, could I have a motion on item 8, summer school calendar and fees? So moved. I'll second. Okay, thank you. Sean?
Yeah, so as you can see, we're not recommending any increases in the school fees, it'll be the same as it was this past year. And also the proposed summer calendar is there. The nice part about this particular calendar is we are able to fit in a break week for 4th of July, which I think will be helpful for families that they can actually, in the second session, be off from summer school that 4th of July.
Any questions, comments? Okay. Jenny, would you take the roll? Lee? Coyle? Aye. Collins? Aye. Vessler? Austriaco? Aye. Owen? Aye. Can I have a motion on item 9, this is the approval of school calendars for 2018 through 2021. So moved. Second. Okay. Brett?
Sure. So before you are the next 3 years' calendars that have been proposed by the calendar committee, which is composed of 7 MTA members and 7 administration members. And these calendars follow the sequence of events that came to us through our survey with teachers, through our survey with community members and students regarding what they like in the school calendar. So one of the main landmarks here is finishing semester 1 before winter break and finishing the school year before Memorial Day. So you can see that these 2 things still occur. Also, we've maintained a day off of school for Columbus Day, which is something the community expressed to us. So this calendar is, it's pretty much in line with the calendars that we've had in the past. The problem dealing with school calendars is it can only please some of the people some of the time. And depending on where the holidays fall, it kind of throws a monkey wrench into the calendar. But we maintain 179 student attendance days, which is 5 more days than the state minimum requirements. And it's been successful. We've received pretty good feedback from parents regarding the finishing semester before, or final exams before the winter break, and also ending before Memorial Day. So kids get a jump start on the summer jobs.
And the kids like finishing the break, the holiday break too.
No one likes starting early in August, but if you're going to end early, you got to start early. So.
Have the feeder districts, I don't have kids in middle school anymore, have they completely adjusted our schedule? I know they adjusted
Pretty
some.
close.
But, so when are they still starting like August 12th and 13th of each year? or-
The sending districts always wait for 207 to approve our calendar, and then we share it with them, and then they build theirs around ours.
Yeah.
What they're most concerned about is where do we place spring break, so that we can line those things up.
And none of them have 179 instructional days like us.
No one goes 179 days.
Usually stagger a few days after
Yeah.
the start date.
Yeah, but they're close. I mean, they're much, the nice thing is we've pivoted our calendar date, moved similarly to align up.
I knew they came out of it a few years ago.
So I'm just gonna, voice my concern on the record. I always had a concern about the calendar infringing earlier and earlier. I see it in 2021, we're starting the 2nd week of August. It's early, but it's just the way Christmas falls. So looking at it, it's, you know what, if you want to finish your 2 before Christmas,
Yeah, you
you
pick your
gotta
poison.
do that, so. it is what it is.
And as you know, I mean,
I thought.
I think we met over that issue, but it really was, I think, the movement, and it was a lot of movement, and outside most of the schools in the suburbs now have made this move for the same reason we did. And the nice thing is we've heard a lot, I mean a lot from parents. If we've heard anything, for every one person that says what you just said, I'll hear from 10 people that appreciate the fact that their kids can actually take a couple weeks of that winter break and just shut it off. And so I think that's really the thing we get more than anything.
The other thing that we found too is because so many of our students are involved in fall extracurricular activities, they're in town and home and ready to begin those activities because they start at that time. And so, you know, that's one of the driving factors with that as well. Keep in mind that even though you're approving the these are called 3-year tentative calendars, so the next 2 years could change with the calendar committee's recommendations, you know, after that.
The next year's spring vacation, spring break will be 2018 March 25 to 29.
In 2019.
2018.
No, 19.
Okay. All right, there's no more discussion. Ginny, would you take the roll?
Collins.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Bessler. Austriaco. Coyle. Owen.
Aye. Could I have a motion on item 10, the 2017 tax levy?
So moved.
Second.
This evening, presented in tentative form is the 2017 tax levy. The tax levy, the proposed tax levy is greater than what we think we're going to get, and the difference is simply new growth. When we take a look at historical new growth, it has a very wide range. It ranges between a high of almost 50 million to a low of about 12 million. So we proposed a tax levy based on $50 million in new growth. We believe we'll get 15. If the new growth doesn't materialize, we don't gain access to that money. On existing properties, we look at, they will get the CPI increase. So on an $8,000 tax bill, our proposed tax levy would increase, and we're gonna leave assessments aside because whether our house is assessed more or less, but if everything was assessed uniformly at a uniform increase, an $8,000 tax bill would go up about $48 for this proposed tax levy. We've also chosen to comply with the Truth in Taxation Act, which allows us to then publish in the paper what our proposed tax levy is and provides an opportunity for a public hearing before the December board meeting, so that puts the community, notifies the community what we're gonna levy and gives them a chance to provide some comments on our tax levy. That's the next meeting in December. So I will entertain any questions that anybody has on the tax levy. The proposed increase is 3.21%, and again, that is not what we expected yet.
How much it went up last year?
Last year, the CPI was 0.8%, so,
Yeah, 0.7, I thought.
yeah. next was
CPI
0.8.
last year was under 1%. And the thing about the new growth that we always want to remind board members, if you don't levy for it, so if someone builds a new apartment complex or new condos, and you don't levy for new growth, you don't get it. And so you've got to do your new growth levy. And right now, I think if you drive around Des Plaines or Park
Well,
Village
there's
or
more
Niles
building,
even,
yeah.
there's a lot of building going on right now. Condos, townhomes, all of that.
Okay. All right, no more questions. Ginny, would you please take the roll?
Collins.
Aye.
Austriaco.
Aye.
Bessler. Lee. Coyle.
Aye.
Owen.
Aye. Again, will be public hearing on this will be in December. Okay, could I have a motion on item 11? This is capital project. Recommendations? Mary?
As board member Lee suggested, we proposed the 2018-19 capital projects at the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting. We are projecting to spend about $7.5 million on these primarily replacements, where we've got replacements and refurbishing of cooling towers, roofs, parking lots, public address system at Main East. So at the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting, we went school by school, project by project, and described each of the projects we're doing. The sequence of events is tonight, if the board approves the capital project, it is our authorization to go ahead and do the design and bidding process for these projects. Then later on in the year, we bring those bids back to the board for approval. So it's a two-step process and two actions on the board before we actually move forward with the projects. The bulk of these projects get completed during the summer of 2018. So I'll take any questions that anybody has on either a specific project or the process that we use.
Yeah, I think it's important to emphasize that this is, we're just really authorizing, if we approve this, for Mary and her team to go out and get, do the bids, and then come back, and we'll have a chance then also to question this. Okay, are there any questions, comments? Okay, would you take the roll, Jenny? Lee?
Aye.
Collins?
Aye.
Bessler? Aye. Hoyle?
Aye.
Austriaco?
Aye.
Owen? Aye. Could I have a motion on item 12, the approval of the tuition cost per pupil for 17-18? Mary?
As part of an exhibit in the annual financial report, there's a calculation for the per capita tuition charge. The per capita tuition charge for 17-18 is based on the 16-17 AFR, and it increased by 4.1%, primarily as a result of expenditures increasing. Our average daily attendance dropped by 0.4%. We have one, maybe two tuition paying students, and this also then sets the amount. We have two students in the TIF area that are residing in new construction in the TIF, and this calculation then is what we bill both the city of Park Ridge and those students who live outside of our district that are attending our district.
Okay, any questions on that?
And the non-resident students and resident students will price, the amount is, cost is exactly the same for this year. I think there are some differences on residents and non-residents.
This is there's only one rate. And so this would be a non-resident coming into the district. The state of Illinois requires school boards. So let's say someone lives in Edison Park and says, I want to go into Maine South. Now, they used to just try to sneak it, so we typically have a system to stop that. Well, now they show up once in a while and ask to pay tuition. Mary has to calculate this rate, and by law, we have to charge that rate. So you cannot allow a non-resident student to attend your high school without collecting the tuition. So it's just the one rate.
Right. And I know we do have a very small number of non-residents who are attending our high school.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? All right, Jim? Austriaco?
Aye.
Collins? Lee?
Aye.
Bessler? Hoyle? Aye. Owen? Aye. Should I have a motion on item 13? This is the seat time waiver.
That's it.
Okay, Sean?
So this is the explanation for the hearing that we heard a little bit earlier. Really to highlight, this would enable us to do is really take an important step moving forward to personalized learning for students so they can learn at their own pace and accelerate their learning as they see fit. It's also one of the things we're finding as we start to pilot some of these things is really starting to help prepare students for that next level. Because moving to a system like this does require that students really learn how to organize their time. And so it looks a lot more like what the world outside of school looks like when you operate under this virtual hybrid system and employ some of these personalized learning opportunities. So we're hoping that the waiver passes the board tonight and that the state sees fit to grant it as well.
Do you have any ideas on how many students, if this passes, how many students might fall under this waiver?
Because the waiver is for a very specific part of what we call blended learning, right now I think it's about 20 teachers who are experimenting with this model. Right. And we're fine right now from the standpoint that the students are in the building. What the
They're in the
virtual
building,
hybrid allows
right,
you to do is
they're
move
not
around
leaving.
and leave and do
Yeah.
some other things that actually could help with internships and other opportunities, do some things a little bit more dynamically. The state right now, for example, is running a competency pilot for which some of our surrounding districts have participated, and this is the specific waiver that they have asked for as part of that pilot.
And this is a 5-year, would give us a 5-year waiver.
Good for 5 years.
So just for some context, this is, the Carnegie unit is literally a late 19th century construction, and how it began was Harvard and Yale were debating on what a college credit was. And so someone came up with the idea of a Carnegie unit, and essentially it's, if your rear end is in a seat for 60 hours in a semester, you get to earn credit if you pass the class otherwise. So it's a time construct. We are moving toward the concept of mastery learning, and mastery is if you learn it, you master it, you move on. You shouldn't have to sit in a seat necessarily 60 hours. And so while we probably will use it sparsely this year, I think in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, we've got about 100 teachers in total in our blended and flipped pilot this year. And I think that number's going to grow as teachers begin to experiment with it and learn and figure out what works well and what doesn't. And it's going to actually not just do a lot of cool things for our students, it's going to do a lot of cool things for our teachers as well. So it's something I think that over the next 4 or 5 years, I think we'll see growth. I know that the leadership in Illinois actually wants to do away altogether with the Carnegie unit process, and Illinois is actually one of the minority of states that even still has it. In most states in the country, it's not even used anymore.
Do you have any idea how long the process takes to get the approval or not?
So typically what would happen is in the spring, the legislature would come back and they'd pass these kind of en masse of whatever, including varies. The one thing with the new bill 1947, one of the relief elements of mandates was that they would do these on a rolling basis. So I don't know if that's kicked in yet, or if they have the personnel to examine them.
But it bodes well for it
It's
being
supposed
done.
to happen more quickly.
Right, but at the latest, it would be spring.
So if I could just add, my daughter, Caroline, who's a senior, is her French teacher. She's in French 5 right now. The French teacher is one of the teachers that is participating in the pilot program. So two of the days a week, she has some flexibility. She can stay in the classroom, and the teacher is still running the class those 2 days, but it's kind of a more conversational class where they're doing some a little more interesting things. Like always interesting, but she's really, it's given her
So
also,
she can leave?
she can leave if she wants. She generally doesn't. She can actually go study for a test that she may have the next hour or a project, but there's certain criteria that she's got to have a certain grade in the class, and she can also, some of her online, she's got to do some online, so she's not doing anything less in French or learning any less, but it's really, she's always liked the class, but she likes it even more. And from my perspective, at least that aspect of it's been great. So I'm in favor of this.
Another concept to keep in mind is the idea of personalization, and what schools, and actually this is thematic to Member Lee's discussion of even the spaces. Our schools were built in an industrial model where the game there was to sort kids. School today is about supporting kids, so it's really flipped, and it's about true personalization. So just as you described with Caroline, you said she has to meet some certain standards. Well, it's about giving the teacher the flexibility to give more help to students that maybe need more, and students that need less help gives them some flexibility to get the help they need where they need it. So it's really, that's how, one of the ways that we get better at personalized learning is by this flexible use of time, because now all of a sudden we can reallocate resources to match needs better.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Jenny, would you take the roll? Coyle?
Aye.
Collins? Austriaco? Lee? Bessler? Owen? Aye. Okay. Item 14, administrative cost cap. Mary?
Hey,
Oh, I'm sorry, I need a motion. I have a motion on item 14, please. So moved.
There is a law that stipulates that only certain elements of the budget, if they increase by more than 5%, that we need to seek a waiver. In this case, we're asking for a one-year waiver on that administrative cost cap. As stated in the public hearing, we've increased the time of the athletic directors to cover summer camp. We've increased the special ed compliance coordinator from a half-time 0.5 position to full-time. And then there are a couple areas where in special ed, the budget wasn't fully spent, and in the bookstores falls under the administrative cost cap for some reason. We need to buy some more PE uniforms. So when you add all of those factors in, we've exceeded the cap by about $100,000. As Mr. Messmer stated earlier, we apply for the waiver, we send it down to the state. There's supposed to be a streamlined process, but they have not updated the waiver form to reflect that. So we'll be hopeful that it will get approved earlier than spring, but spring is the timeline that they still have on their application.
Any questions?
Is this for the benefit of the administrators or any only benefit students possibly? Any relationship? Which would you have?
Is this the cost cap?
No, that's a function of some changes administratively, that we have to be required to do a waiver for that. There is a cost factor. I do think on the, especially the special ed compliance piece, I would argue that that is definitely benefiting students. What we're trying to do is make sure that we continue to improve our special education compliance procedures. So,
And like the athletic director is really taking payments that we made them in summer school as part of summer camp, and now their salary is charged to a different area in the budget. So it's not, it's marginally more money, but it's just because now it's a different area.
if you remember back, I think in the spring, we talked about this, and we are, in our conference, we were the only school district whose athletic directors were not 12-month employees. And you guys know, most of you have had kids. Our buildings are never, I think you can count on one hand or two the number of times in a year that our schools will be not open. There's always something going on, and that includes in the summertime. So I think that's the other piece. If you talk about serving students, I think that reflects that too.
All right, there's no other questions? Jim? Lee? Coyle?
Aye.
Collins?
Aye.
Bessler?
Aye.
Austriaco?
Aye.
Owen? Aye. Okay, bids and contracts. Bids and awarding contracts. Let's take item 15A first. Do I have a motion on 15A?
Second.
Thank you. This is on this is on commencement ceremonies. Mary?
Once again, we are contracting with, and I think it's now we're called the Rosemont Theater again, right? Yeah. The Rosemont Theater to hold graduation. Since we moved to having all three commencement ceremonies on one day, we've been able to achieve a savings of $12,000. This is the identical contract to what we signed last year, and places the commencement date at May 20th, 2018.
Same order of the graduations?
Yeah.
Same order. Same order.
Main west at 11 a.m., main east at 3 p.m., main south at 6:30 p.m.
I always send it to the building, so that's what you order.
Sarah, I just have a question on this one. Since we'll be using Rosemont Theater for the graduation commencement ceremony, is there a benefit to having a multi-year contract with them so that we can get it cheaper?
So they won't give us a discount for having a multi-year contract, and we can ask them. I know there was a point in time where they only wanted to give us a one-year contract because I think they were unsure about their future. So we're always kind of cross our fingers when we ask them for the contract that we can at least get the
But
one.
if we're not gonna save money, you know, unless you think we won't get it when we want it.
I mean, it's in. I mean, we can ask them, but it's not gonna save us money. They think they have always tentative, like after graduation, they'll send us an email that says we tentatively reserve this date for you guys for next year.
So they're always.
So
Yes.
it came so bad. The reason why I just asked is we are actually doing a multi-year contract with the Hyatt, and we're bringing an organization there, and they quoted a certain price, and now I'm like, okay, we're gonna enter into a contract for 3 years, but we need concessions here, and they're willing to sit down and say, we'll give you a big break for that. So, but for that, Annie, yeah, it makes sense.
And also, I have enjoyed attending graduation ceremony at Rosemont Theater, especially despite the weather situation. A few years ago, Maine West, we did outdoor and so on, and that's exciting as well too. But comparing to traditionally we kept that within our schools, and then doing this at the Rosemont Theater, the parents, the teachers, graduate students, are they really happy with overall doing that in education?
Yes. Absolutely.
Air conditioning, no weather issues.
And your seating. You had me at comfortable seating.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Not bleachers. Yes.
You are able to invite, wasn't it more parents,
More
teacher-wise?
Yes, yes. Okay, if there's no more questions, Candace, I just want to know what more time the times are.
Maine West at 11 a.m., Maine East at 3 p.m., Maine South at 3 p.m. Maine West at 11 a.m.
Oh, okay, okay.
11 a.m. Maine East at 3 p.m., Maine South at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Judith. Thank you, closely viewed. Thank you.
I'm ready.
And you did it. Okay. All right, Ginny, would you take the roll? Gessler, Coyle, Lee, Austriaco, Collins, Bowen. Aye. Okay, can I have a motion on item 15B, the Aramark PE towel service? Okay. Mary, here we are with towels again.
Here we are with towels again. This is the last time I'm bidding towels this year. No, we rebid towels. We've received 2 bidders, Aramark and Cintas. The lowest responsible bidder was Aramark. The 3-year contract has an estimated value of $112,000. They are giving us 8 free weeks of towel service this year, primarily because we had 5 towels. So they felt that they had an imperative to make up that savings to us. This is very consistent to what we've been paying for the past several years. It will take, if the board approves the contract this evening, it'll take about a week for us to get Aramark up and running. And I believe our custodians will be happy.
But did you not say before, previously, did you not mention that with in-house?
We are currently doing this
cost,
in-house.
save a lot of cost money-wise and beneficial?
So, if you recall, Aramark's 1-year bid was over $100,000. They, after the bid, after we rejected the bid and built our in-house services, I had a meeting with Aramark because they wanted to discuss why they were losing the services, and they meant to bid that amount on a per week basis, not a per delivery basis as the bid requires. So their bid was twice as high as they meant it to be, which is why now, yes, it would have, at $100,000, it would have been cheaper to do it in-house. At $43,000, it's about break even, and at some point we would have to buy replacement equipment, which would put us at then a loss.
And then, why does the price differences in year 1 and year 2 from 28,000 for first year, and then second year and third year jumped to 43,000?
Well, no, there's 2 reasons. One, we're partway through the year. So this is, we're not paying for towel services for September and October. But also, if you look, it's the first year of the contract, they're charging us 15 cents per towel. And the second year, 17 cents per towel, and then the third year, 18 cents per towel. So that is how they did. We compared their price to Cintas, and they were lower at a cumulative basis on the contract.
And they were doing two contractors participating in this particular business.
Last time, if you recall, Aramark was the only bidder.
Okay.
Jenny, would you take the roll? Lee? Gessler? Austriaco? Coyle? Collins? Owen?
Aye. Okay, could I have a motion on item 15C? These are change orders, we'll take them all at the same time.
Second.
Okay. Mary, that was good for me.
That's, so in the main way is, even if you have it budgeted, don't spend it. So these are deduct change orders that will reduce the contract amount for both the Main East HVAC project for the server room and the wrestling room, and the Frost Academy Administration Center HVAC replacement project. The Main East change order is a reduction to the contract of $3,403.81. And at Frost Admin, it's a negative change order, reducing the contract by $14,931.74. Since they have to be signed by Carla, even though they do not require board action, I felt that Carla would be more comfortable if the full board knew what she was signing.
Okay, any questions? If not, Jenny, take the roll.
Collins? Austriaco? Gessler? Coyle? Lee? Owen?
Aye. Okay, could I have a motion on item 16? This is two separate requests for facility fee waivers. We'll put them at the same time. Second, thank you. Okay, it's the same, yes, this is the SAT test prep now. So it's the ACT for Maine East and Maine West. You've done this, yes. Why?
They do the same thing, it's just a provider.
Any questions on this? Okay, hearing none.
Coyle? Lee? Collins? Gessler? Austriaco? Owen?
Item 17, I have a motion on new club proposal. Second. This is not normally a club.
Right, it's a team, but our group is doing some fundraising this year, and in order to have an account in the bookstore that has money going in and out, you have to be recognized by the board as a club so that you can then have an account. We have taken over the entrepreneurship classes project of the Pop Shop. Our entrepreneur teacher this year is a traveling teacher and cannot run that facility. It's a popcorn shop and icy freeze pops. And we run it on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the students, and what we do, the money is have that go towards senior scholarships and also toward the school-wide fundraiser. But in order to be able to purchase the popcorn, et cetera, and then to make a profit and earn that profit in our own account, we have to be recognized as a club. Even though we've been functioning as a principal leadership team for 13 years, this is now gives us club status to be able to do.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none, would you take the roll?
Gessler? Austriaco? Coyle? Collins? Lee? Owen?
Aye. Okay, item 18 is calendar items. Please note that there is a finance committee meeting this week at 5:30. And if there is going to be an education or buildings and grounds meeting, that will be on the 20th.
And do we need an education, Sean? Are we gonna?
We can forego this month if you would like.
Because that's the Monday Thanksgiving week, so I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I would think we would forego a December unless you feel like it's necessary for a December.
Well, depending upon what we like to do with the refiling ready pieces,
I do want that at our next meeting, but I just don't know how many.
You know what, Sean and I will talk, we'll figure out whether to do an ed committee or maybe just present your, warm-up for December.
other than that, there is no pressing issues in the instructional services.
I think we can just do it.
What would you like to summary?
We've been collecting the updated data because it's all coming in.
Just a quick question, is anybody attending the November 7th through 19 IASB Junior Annual Conference? That's one in Chicago. I guess now.
I can't, I have Blanket of Dreams that weekend.
I'm presenting on Saturday early warning system.
Get some information and let us know, share with us. Aurora. Share with us.
I have my assignment, yes.
Actually, Jan, are you going
Very
Saturday?
attentively now.
No, I'm thinking in Thursday, Korea.
No, are you going to the conference? You're not going to the conference?
No, he's not.
Oh, you'll be in Korea, I'm sorry, my misunderstanding, I misunderstood.
Okay, any communications or public comments? Okay. Can I have a motion to go into closed session for purposes of review of closed session minutes and collective negotiating matters?
I'll make a motion.
Austriaco? Bessler? Collins? Coyle? Lee? Owen?
Aye.